Um, oh, I found this. This was cool. I saw this on Reddit. What is this? World War II picks. Now, this is especially timely because of what's going on in Russia, Ukraine, Ukraine more specifically, courtesy of Russia. I'm sure you've heard about all these sanctions happening that are limiting the ingredients and shipments of goods into Russia from American companies and Western European countries and so on. The latest, by the way, was Nestle. And Nestle said, nah, we're done too. And you don't even understand Nestle. Like Nestle.
I don't. Their
nobody does.
reach is incredible.
Number one consumer brand company. It's like you go through the grocery store, all these other variety of brands you see, it's like, oh, that's Nestle.
Mm-hmm.
It's just enormous. It will have a massive impact. And at first, Nestle said, we don't want to do that because people really rely on our stuff. They said, whether it's like baby formulas, and they had made the case that it would be rude to pull out of there. But then they backtracked under pressure from, I believe it was Zelensky himself, the president over there in Ukraine. He said, you're paying taxes in Russia right now. You're funding them. Are you not? And they're like, yeah, upon further consideration, we go. But anyways, that's what brought me to this particular Reddit post, and I'm sure it's the reason that people are paying attention to it, because it's not the first time this has happened. Back during World War II, at the beginning of World War II, the German Coca-Cola bottling factory lost its supply of ingredients from the United States. Then the Germans decided to produce another drink from food waste, apple pomace, or pomace, I don't know how you say that word, and whey. And then they called it Fanta, short for the word fantasy. And
that still exists today.
And look at their advertising. They put Hitler right on it.
Oh, wow.
They're like, you want to drink the same stuff as Hitler? That would be like, we were making a joke about Putin redoing McDonald's, and we put him in the thumbnail with a McDonald's logo. But that's exactly what that is right there. That is exactly what that is. Is they're like, you want to drink the same stuff as this guy?
Hitler's looking at that tasty bottle.
Well, anyway, what ended up happening was they end up doing a commercial later on, kind of drawing light to its origin. And then they take tremendous heat for it, Fanta, because obviously this is a bizarre origin story. And
did they bring back Hitler?
No, they didn't bring back Hitler. They were just kind of playing up this idea as it being a better alternative to Coke, which that marketing started as a consequence of sanctions. And it's just a weird visual to have when you're thinking of a refreshing drink. You don't want to be thinking about sanctions at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I think it's not long before the Russian version of things like this pop up, including what's going on with the McDonald's over there and other brands that are, the rumor is that they're working on nationalizing them. Drinks would be the same thing. Coca-Cola left there. Coca-Cola left Russia, and there's going to be Coca-Cola laying around for a while, but at some point, people are going to have to reach for some other sugary drink.
Interesting that they changed the entire ingredients. I thought they were going to make it like an alternative to Coke. Because what if people still miss Coke?
Well,
in Germany?
I mean, they were working with what they had at the time, because
I guess so.
It was all types of ingredients that were being held up that they didn't, I guess, produce themselves. And so this is what they could make as an alternative. I mean, it's still sweet. Have you tasted it?
Maybe once or twice.
I mean, it's still a sweet drink.
I know it's everywhere.
Kind of like a fruity. Is
it kind of like Crush?
It's more, I don't know. I think I had like a lime type one in the past. Or the orange is famous.
I thought it was from like
there's a peach.
Caribbean.
Well, that's the look you go for now.
Yeah.
You got a pineapple. It's popular in all over the world. It's probably a Nestle brand now. I'm not even joking. It might be. Or I guess it would be a Pepsi or a Coke brand at this point. They would have bought it back as it was picking up steam. Are you going to check if Nestle has it? I don't think so. No. It's probably Coke or Pepsi.
Okay.
Those ones are on their own. Anyway, so this is the consequence of things. You have these bizarre little historical stories that are a consequence of this variety of activity. You know, something that stands out to me, Will, I haven't lived that long.
Hmm.
Well, no, I mean, nobody really has in the scope of history. Like, what is my age? 37? 36? I'm sure 36.
Hmm.
And never did I really experience so much exposure to war as recently, at least like cognizant war, like ongoing war coverage. And you're right, that is like Orange Crush. And you know, the thing that stood out to me when I looked at that graphic from World War II is that my perception of World War II was much more speed, like a movie, because that's what you're exposed to.
Hmm.
That, like, the whole thing, like, you just have this, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but you have this perception that you have this incredibly violent, dramatic circumstance that starts and ends. And this latest experience with the Russia-Ukraine thing, it hasn't even gone on that long compared to World War II. But the realization being in present time with conflict that's being broadcast everywhere here in the West is the recognition that war is really slow and monotonous and like brutal. The speed of it is brutal, the way it gets dragged out and the amount of the sort of ongoing unknown. And I look at these billboards, and I realize even back then, this is in probably the early 40s when this advertisement would have been out there. You have people trying to sell products in the midst of ongoing combat.
Hmm.
You have people using the leader responsible as an advertising mechanism of the time.
Propaganda?
It all takes time to derive all of this. It's all so concocted and almost lacking emotion. Now, I'm not saying there's not emotion. I mean, certainly on those that are victimized, it's tremendous emotion. But on the side of the planners, on the side of the higher up, it is so matter of fact. Oh, we can't get this ingredient? Well, let's make Fanta. While there's all this bloodshed going on in the background, the backdrop of the industry. The backdrop of industry is the blood industry. That was really weird, the way that industry led to in the street.
In the street?
That just happened in my sentence.
Mm.
Industry, blood in the street. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not trying to write lyrics right now, but and it's just foreboding. It's just drawn out. It's just suffering and fear. And this ad really highlighted that for me, that it's like you still have the woman standing there with the smiley face, but imagine the backdrop. Mm-hmm. Imagine the context of the launching of this product and the reason for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think in times of war, people still need to do something. You know, work. And in this case, graphic designers, manufacturers, scientists making the,
I think this
drink.
I think this is what I'm trying to get at. It's just that in retrospect, even your own memories seem like a glimpse. But when you're in something, it seems like forever, particularly suffering.
Mm-hmm.
But you look back on it, if circumstances change, it's hard to really reflect on it, which is why you used to have war veterans come through and speak to children and things like that, which is why you have the Never Again Remembrance Day type of things. And you run out of people who have actually physically experienced such a thing. And then your ability to project what that actually feels like as a person far removed from it, with a lack of tangible exposure to it, means that you don't truly understand the risk associated with it or the amount of pain. You might be able to project. You might be able to try. But as those people run out and the people who experienced tremendous conflict, as they pass on, you're lacking this very tangible insight into the actuality of conflict, which can be delivered in which is best delivered in a far more personal way. Like I'm sure you saw like World War II videos when you were 14, and it just seems like some other world.
Yeah.
It just seems so removed.
Yeah.
And in the broader content ecosystem, it starts to look like a lot of other content, which in many cases is manufactured, in many cases
blends in.
fictional.
Yeah.
Your perception of the realness of it is the troublesome part, because there's been so much fiction around combat. And of course it's beyond that now. Now it's video games.
Yeah. Action movies. It's a lot of violence and combat there. I mean, sports.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, the difference. My grandfather was in Italy during World War II, and his brother, he has passed on now. He was the youngest of 17.
17.
17
Oh yeah,
kids.
you told me.
Told you this before. His brother had picked up a grenade that had not fired off, and he picked it up in the street. Kids would just be playing with this stuff, and he brought it home with him. He told nobody. He just thought it was cool, and he took it to sleep with him that night, and it went off.
Oh.
To hear that story from him, there's no movie that's going to do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
To like have a tangible. I look at my own brother. I look at him. I look at. It's a way different texture to it. He talk about soldiers would come through the town, and they would lure in the dog to put it on the barbecue, his own pet dogs.
Yeah.
You didn't put that in the movie, Will.
Well,
like
yeah.
everything that's happening right now, it's not going to be in the movie. The movie's going to gloss it all up. They're going to go pick some good-looking guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then that becomes reality. And we're just in an environment right now, man, where it's like, it's so hard to distinguish what the hell is going on.
Yeah. I almost don't want to say the story that I watched this morning about the Ukraine war.
What? You're telling me about a story you don't want to say?
I don't want to say it
as a way.
It's just really dark. But now that you mention it, it's just.
Well, you can say what you want to say, man. It's up to you. You want to say, you don't want to say. It's up to you.
Well, yeah, just based on, your story and how there's no real context anyone can really tell unless you experienced it, and something that's
or talk to somebody
traumatic.
Someone who experienced it.
Yeah, I watched like a YouTube video. I think it was like NBC or Fox News. They interviewed a guy in Ukraine who literally lost his wife and his daughter, but the only way he knew was actually seeing social media.
I saw the story
and pictures of the dead wife and daughter.
And he's doing an interview.
That's how he knows.
He did an interview on CNN or something after.
Yeah,
I don't remember the network. And the reporter starts to tear up.
Yes,
that's talking to him, and he goes back to bury them, his family, and he even for him, you wonder how much of his ability to emote in that scenario exists in the presence of shock.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you've ever experienced like a traumatic event, it's hard to gauge how you're going to react. It's really hard to gauge it. Some people are very emotional and it all comes out, and other people can remain in shock for extended periods of time. Other people cannot believe their new reality. It's such a huge transition.
But to find out on social media, that's a trip.
That's 2022. Think of all the things you can find out on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how you find out, like what happens when somebody who's well known dies. How quickly that news proliferates on social media.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, you never even would have known in some of these circumstances that that person had died. You have to hear it from somebody.
The news, late night news.
Maybe, or maybe you just go on your life and you wouldn't be reminded of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that information travels now, I think there's plenty of things that we would wish to not find out in that manner, that's how we find things out.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose that just to wrap up what I was talking about, at least in the context of my own grandfather, that for me gave me more these type of stories gave me more insight than any movie or documentary or anything, because of how tangible and how much texture it had coming from a person in front of you.
Yeah.
And to be able to see it on their face in a way that media has a tough time still translating.
Yes.
Everything feels distant.
Mm-hmm.